It is easy to ignore the recent story of 4 U.S. servicemen killed in Niger, the giant state in Central Africa, because the place is so remote and the circumstances still so murky. That would be a mistake. Niger highlights a much larger problem: just how foolish, how flat-out dumb President Trump is behaving. Trump is a person who doesn't connect dots even when they are big, fat polka dots that are hard to Mississippi. Rather, he thinks inside narrow little boxes built from his own simplistic impulses and applause lines, and that tendency is leading us into a web of contradictions abroad. Niger is a perfect example. I know something about Niger because I did a documentary there last year for National Geographic's Years of Living Dangerously climate series and wrote several columns about it for the Times. To understand why groups affiliated with ISIS and Al-Qaeda are popping up in that region of Central Africa, you have to connect a lot of dots, and recognize the linkages between a number of different problems, not just say, in effect, there are bad guys there. I will call my generals. They will kill them. I will take credit. As defense systems expert Lynn Wells once put it, to ameliorate problems in places like Niger, you must never think in the box. You must never think out of the box. You must always think without a box. Why? Because what is destabilizing all of these countries in the Sahel region of Africa and spawning terrorist groups is a cocktail of climate change, desertification as the Sahara steadily creeps south, population explosions, and misgovernance. Desertification is the trigger, and climate change and population explosions are the amplifiers. The result is a widening collapse of small-scale farming, the foundation of societies all over Africa. And that collapse is leading to a rising tide of economic migrants, interethnic conflicts, and extremism. Monique Barbutt, who heads the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification and guided me in Niger, explained. A few numbers: Niger, with rampant poverty and poor access to contraception, has one of the highest birth rates in the world, 7.6 children per woman. I met a man there who boasted of 17 kids. Neighboring Nigeria is growing so fast it will replace the U.S. as the third most populous country in the world by 2050. Nigeria is a third bigger than Texas. Meanwhile, climate change in the region is so severe that nearby Senegal's National Weather Bureau says that from 1950 to 2015, the average temperature there rose 2 degrees Celsius and the average annual rainfall declined by about 2 inches. The Paris Climate Accord was designed to keep global average temperatures from rising 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels by 2100. In other words, parts of sub-Saharan Africa are already at heat levels that Paris was supposed to prevent by the end of the century, and the region is heading for a 4-degree rise, which will lead to the collapse of even more small farms and lead to a mad scramble of refugees toward Europe, competition for food, and more unemployed males ready to join ISIS for $50 a month. Barbutt, as I reported, reinforced her point by showing me 3 maps of Africa with dots concentrated in the middle of the continent.